Meantime, as the Senate digs in now to the GOP's massive reconciliation bill, one lesser-known provision is starting to spark some outrage from states who could find they have their hands tied on AI regulation over the next decade. Deirdre Bosa has more on that angle in today's Tech Check. Hi, Deirdre.
So, Kelly, on paper, this is a push for national consistency, but in practice, this actually blocks near-term regulation by shutting down the only regulators who've actually been acting. That's states like California and New York. And that is the real strategy here. Shift the power to Washington, where federal rules are stalled, where agencies lack clear mandates, and big tech has more influence. So the result is actually a regulatory void, or it would be, and into that void, a new narrative is taking hold, one that is being pushed by Trump's AI czar David Sachs and other Silicon Valley figures, that AI safety advocates aren't just wrong, but they're part of a globalist campaign to slow American innovation. At the center of that argument is China, that every hesitation here is a gain for Beijing, post DeepSeek, and as Jensen Huang warns that we could fall behind. This is a new angle for the accelerationists. For investors, that narrative shift matters. A decade-long freeze on state oversight, that could mean fewer near-term hurdles for AI. But it's also, an admission that China's catching up. And, it's not just playing out in Washington, but potentially at megacaps, too. Meta's latest AI reorg, Kelly, it puts a focus squarely on product over research. It prioritizes speed and deployment over safety work, over caution. Could also send a signal to Apple, which has taken a more cautious, privacy-focused approach and thus fallen behind. It's basically a message saying accelerate or get left out, especially as WWDC approaches.
But in other words, the crafters of the bill would argue they don't want states to stop tech companies, but kind of like what we've seen with California and, this fight over car emissions, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Gavin Newsom has said that he would love for federal national regulation, but he just doesn't think it's possible because it's, at the end of the list and there's not a lot of drive or incentive to do it. So he's doing the next best thing, which is figuring it out for California. And that's why I say sort of on paper it looks good, but in practice, never going to happen at the federal level. So this is really just an excuse but from many people who are incentivized and because of China catching up to accelerate, make sure that AI is moving ahead as quickly as possible for better or for worse. But of course, there's the other side, right? People like Dario Amodei at Anthropic and a lot of the research labs argue that you got to be careful. You got to have regulation, a little more caution in place.
No, I understand. Deirdre, appreciate it. And we'll see what happens with that bill as it does move through the Senate this week. Deirdre Bosa.